EA's other debut game on the Genesis also happens to be the system's first proper fighting game, although it doesn't take a form similar to what was about to become all the rage in the early 90s. Remember, we're still about 8 months from Street Fighter II hitting the arcades and ruling the world. In Budokan, you play a student charged with mastering 4 different fighting styles with a focus on traveling to the Nippon Budokan in order to win a major tournament. Yeah, the Nippon Budokan is actually a real place, built as an arena for the judo competition in the 1964 Summer Olympic Games. It's better known today as the venue for countless live albums from artists like Ozzy Osbourne, Cheap Trick, Blur, Mr. Big, Avril Lavigne. Pretty much everyone does a live at Budokan album. Presentation is pretty average, but I have to say that I'm really impressed with the quality of the animation on some of the moves in Budokan. The game's not gorgeous, but it does stand out in some ways. During the actual tournament, the player gets to choose from any of the styles they have trained in against any of their opponents, though with limited uses. So smart play also has to be balanced with good choices based on who you're facing. And by the way, the computer is not limited to the same 4 styles you are. The thing that makes Budokan stand out in the genre's extensive history is that it's one of a handful of games that attempts to more accurately represent its fighting styles. You won't find any fantastical special moves here, or simple forward-back controls. Directions generally control fighting stances, and it's from these stances that particular strikes or blocks are performed. And there's no life bar, but rather a ki and stamina bar. Run out of stamina and you lose. Of course, performing any moves at all requires stamina, so there's a fair amount of strategy required in Budokan. The authenticity of the fighting arts has everything to do with the 3 names on the front of the box: Ray Toby, Michael Kosaka, and Rick Tiberi. According to Ray Toby's website, Mike Kosaka is a black belt Aikido, and spearheaded the idea of a martial arts-based game. He also designed the first game Electronic Arts developed in-house, Skate or Die. A bit more trivia for you, Mike Kosaka would eventually end up at the Sega Technical Institute. Ray Toby was the second youngest developer at EA at the time, and was responsible for a flight simulator called Skyfox. He was basically hand-picked by Steve Wozniak for a job at EA via a note to Trip Hawkins. Woz was a board member at the time. Budokan also marks the first time composer Rob Hubbard made an appearance on the Genesis. After making a name for himself at Gremlin Graphics in the UK, Hubbard moved to EA in the late 80s and helped establish a very particular sound for their in-house games. His signature style pretty much defined EA's games on the Genesis for the first few years.
Your secrets, if you really look at yourself, you would be speechless. What happened to being doctors and teachers? What happened to being your brother's keeper? Nowadays kids more worried about